If you had any doubts at all that Scott Walker, with the temperament of Richard Nixon, try to bust his Secretary of State, who's a Democrat, out of a 4,000 square foot office. They've cut his budget to the point where he only has one staff person. Secretary of State is supposed to oversee all the corporations in the state, right? And the elections. And now they want to move this guy into a 900 square foot office, and he's got one employee. I mean, this is like, this is how you punish your enemies. If you have any doubts that Scott Walker has the mentality of Richard Nixon, I mean, look at one of the stories of why he left college was that he got busted. Basically, he was running for student body president or something like that, and the local paper endorsed his opponent, and his campaign staffers were caught stealing piles of newspapers out of newspaper bins and throwing them away, so people wouldn't read the endorsement. So anyhow, if you have any doubt that this guy has the temperament of Richard Nixon, but will follow the policies of Ronald Reagan, listen to this, clip number 13.
The Commander-in-Chief has a sacred duty to protect the American people. In my lifetime, the best president when it comes to national security and foreign policy was a governor from California.
Right. Well, first of all, he's saying governors are better for you than anybody else. And then, of course, he's pandering to Reagan. And in fact, clip 14 here, he expands on that.
Under his leadership, we rebuilt the military. We stood up for our allies. We stood up to our enemies. And without apology, we stood for American values.
Yeah, when Al-Qaeda blew up all those Marines and killed, 230 some odd Marines in Beirut, what did Ronald Reagan do? He turned tail and ran, pulled all of our troops out of Beirut. Now, frankly, I think that was probably the right thing to do, but that's not the way Scott Walker would talk. I mean, this is not the Republican. I mean, can you imagine if a Democratic president had done that? Not to mention, Reagan throwing $1 trillion at Star Wars, which still doesn't work. It was a crazy idea. It was an idea that Ronald Reagan got from a science fiction movie that he starred in. I'm serious. Toward the end of his presidency, he was mixing up his movies and reality and his Alzheimer's dementia so badly that he sat at a state dinner next to either the president of Israel or the prime minister or the ambassador. I forget which one it was, but it's fairly easy to track this down. You can Google it. It's in Will Bunch's book, Tear Down This Myth. Sat next to this guy and told him how he had been there with the soldiers liberating Auschwitz, when in fact he never left Hollywood. It's just, Reagan was. Yeah, the best president we ever had. Iran-Contra, negotiating with the Iranians to hold the hostages for an extra half a year so that Jimmy Carter would lose the election, at least according to the president of Iran. No slouch.